Literary Movements and Trends in English Literature, Part 12. Today we'll be talking about modern age. So, the first thing that comes is Raymer's Club. So, this was the group of young London based writers of 1890, and it was a group which was founded by W.B. Yeats. So, it also included number of writers like T.W. Ralston, Ernest Rice, Ernest Dawson, Liconel Johnson, Francis Thompson, Richard Clean, John Gray, and Arthur Simon. So these were the important writers. The next comes as Irish Dramatic Movement. It was started by W.B. Yeats to revive the old Irish drama. So Irish Society was founded in London, and he was inspired by the Gaelic movement, and he also founded the Irish National Theatre, and it included the important writers like Lennox Robinson, Zeno Casey, T.C. Murray, Edward Martian, and William Boyle. Next, we'll talk about Auden Group. So, this was a group of young British and Irish writers, and basically, it was founded by W.H. Auden, and it included the other writers like Lewis MacNeice, Cecil Day Lewis, Stephen Spender, Christopher Isherwood. So, these were the important writers, and Max Sponde was the name that was invented by Roy Campbell, which was for the Auden Group. So, these were the important writers. Next comes Georgian poets. So these were the ones those who lived under the era of George the Five ruler, and the poets were Rupert Brooke, Ralph Hodgson, Siegfried Sassoon, Robert Graves, W. H. Davies, D. H. Lawrence, and Walter de la Mare. Next, we'll talk about Harlem Renaissance. It was in 1920s and 30s, and it was basically of African and American art and writing. So these people used to write and basically discussed about Jim Crow's laws, which were against the Africans, as if they were criticized. So it included the important writers who raised their voices for such people. So they were Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, Ellen Lodge, Alan Locke, and Claude McKay. Next comes war poets. So these were the group of British writers and used naturalistic language and mentioned about war in their work. They were opposed to Georgian poets who presented war as a heroic one, and war is nothing to be glorified, they said. So these included the writers like Wilfred Owen, Rupert Brooke, Siegfried Sassoon, Edward Thomas, Robert Graves, Ava Gurney, Isaac Rosenberg, and Edmund Blunder. So these were the important writers. Now talking about Lost Generation. So this was in 1930s, and it was founded by Gertrude Stein, and it was popularized by Ernest Hemingway. So in his epigraph Sun Also Rises. So it included the important American writers Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Gertrude Stein, John Dost Passon, and T.S. Eliot were the important writers. Next, talking about Bloomsbury Group. So this was the intellectual society formed in the center part of London and formed from the small group, those who shared the same ideas. So this included Virginia Woolf, Leonard Woolf, Vanessa Bell, Cleve Bell, Julius Lytton Strachey, E.M. Foster, John Maynard Keynes. So these were the important writers. Sigmund Freud was also the part of it. So this has been asked in the PYQs. So it's important to remember. Now talking about stream of consciousness. So this was the term which was coined by William James. It is important to remember because it's asked in the paper. So the book was Principles of Psychology, in which this term was popularized. May Sinclair also implied in the work of Dorothy. And the important writers were Marcel Proust, Virginia Woolf, Sylvia Plath, Dorothy, and Toni Morrison, and also James Joyce and William Faulkner were the part of it. Now talking about Black Mountain poets were the ones who studied from Black Mountain College in America. So this was in 1933 till 1956, and it employed stress on creative art and included the poets like Robert Searle, Robert Duncan, Dennis Leverton, and Charles Olson. So these were the important writers, and they also published a magazine called Origin, and Robert Searle and Charles Olson also published a magazine called Black Mountain Review. Now talking about New Apocalyptics. So these was the group of British and Scottish writers in the late 1930s and 1940s, and they published the anthologies like New Apocalyptics, White Horseman, and included the important writers like Dylan Thomas, Kathleen Rennie, David Gassion, George Parker, Henry Terrace, G.S. Fraser, Werner Watkins, and Robert Reed. So these were the important writers. Now talking about the last literary movement of modern age was the Southern agrarians. So these were associated with new criticism, and They included the writers like John Crow Ransom, Alan Tate, Donald Wade, Robert Penn Warren, Stark Young, and they worked on the essay. A collection was there. I Will Take My Stand, South and Agrarian Tradition. So these were the important writers, and they belong to the new criticism. With this, we come to an end with the modern age. So in next video, we'll be talking about postmodern age. Thank you.